Hello Loreno, it's Giltar here. I'd like to start off by sincerely thanking you for taking the time and effort to watch one of my videos and respond to it, share your thoughts, and offer some questions to consider. I've been a subscriber of yours actually for several weeks now since you started to upload your content through your channel. I discovered your channel through one of Professor Anton's videos. I'm always intrigued by your videos, very thought-provoking, and I always enjoy them immensely. And every time I see one of your new videos show up in my subscriptions list, I'm extremely excited to see what you've offered at that point. So I'm very thankful for that. Discovering your channel. I'm also pleasantly surprised by your awareness of the content that I provide through my own channel, because I did notice that you subscribed to my channel shortly after I subscribed to you, and I really never thought much of it, in that I didn't think that you would have much interest in what I involve myself in through my outlet here through YouTube, simply because from what you've shared through your channel, your interests and your background, your general background information, I never considered someone like yourself to have any interest in what I do here. But it's wonderful to hear that you've seen some of my videos and you enjoyed them, and again, I'm quite pleasantly surprised, and I'm quite appreciative for this opportunity to engage in some dialogue with you. So that's just it's just a wonderful thing, to be honest. Now, to start off, addressing some of the questions you pose, what's wrong with being geeky, and more importantly, what is it to be a geek? What is a geek? I think I'll start off with the most commonly accepted notion of a geek is simply that it's somebody who is different from the norm in a certain environment, who is often apart from others due to their interests. You definitely mentioned, possibility of being self-absorbed because of something like an interest, and I think that is fairly common. There is certainly the perception of rudeness from some geeks, because it can be a combination of being self-absorbed in a hobby or a pursuit. It can also be stemming from social awkwardness. Often geeks are geeks and sort of pursue something of that, of a certain type of interest, because social interaction, engagement is perhaps a little difficult. I think another way to look at what is a geek is that a geek really ties into a person's strong interest in something, a hobby or any other type of personal sort of hobby, pursuit, activity, interests. And in that manner, I think everyone's a geek to some degree. And part of being a geek is that whatever interest you have, often part of it at least is very personal, private. Even in cases where people do enjoy sharing the aspects of their hobbies with other people, I think there's still a portion of it that most people, including myself, hold back and keep it for our own private lives. I personally find a lot of, relaxation in some of my pursuits, such as model kits, when I can sit down and work on a model kit, on the assembly process, on the refining of the model, and other facets of a model kit. I find that is, oddly enough, extremely relaxing, where I can focus on that kind of pursuit. I'm also an aspiring artist, and I find that working on drawings and paintings is another avenue of mine where I can find relaxation, but also be in a state of focus and concentration. And I think that's, again, a part of geekiness, is that everybody's a geek in some way. It's just that some people may not recognize it, or some people are not, as forthright in admitting that. And another thing about being a geek is that it's another way, of defining people, categorizing people. I think it's, in a way, an attempt by people to better understand others. Once we understand someone by putting a label on them, we can then perhaps make a connection and find some unity. Ironically, by creating these definitions, I think we actually create divisions and separation between people. And I find that quite interesting, how humans are often quite counterintuitive in some ways. I also find that I think that a root of the concept of the geek, of the desire to define and categorize people, stems from the human's aversion to ambiguity, where we want control over the environment, over our lives, and thus, if we see some elements of what we perceive to be chaos or randomness, we want to impose our will, impose some sense of control, structure, and order in order to understand things, to remove the ambiguity and try to find some semblance of assurance through that. I think that's another thing that really leads into the geek issue, because often people do have a negative view of geeks. And I think really it's not from the fact that they're different. I think it's from the fact that, again, that people don't understand geeks or a geek, and thus they would look at them in a less than positive manner because they fear them. Perhaps they say, "Well, I don't know how to put my thumb on you. I don't know how to define you. I don't know how to understand you," and that unnerves me, I think. So I think that's generally what I would say about geekiness. I mean, there are different degrees of geekiness, and there's, I think, a more common usage of geek these days is just simply to denote an intense interest in something. I would consider myself a geek of many things. Obviously, a model kit geek. I'm also a technology geek, a history geek, a philosophy geek, a food geek, a car geek. Just simply because I have all these different interests, these passions that I try to engage in and explore, and I would consider myself a geek in all those things. And I mean, more common things would be, I could be a comic book geek because I have an intense interest in comic books as a medium. And I guess that's another way to look at geekdom. What's wrong with being geeky? I don't think that there's anything inherently wrong with being geeky, although it can be something that leads to an addiction or unhealthy preoccupation or obsession with activities. Being a video game geek can lead you down to the road of, it does sound cliche, but we've seen it happen before, though fairly rarely. People become obsessed with video games, addicted to them, and spend hours on end, if not days, secluding themselves, playing a video game in order to try to escape from the quote-unquote real world. They give up responsibility in their school and work lives. They ignore or perhaps stay away from friends and family members. Mentally, physically, and emotionally, they become unbalanced, and it's quite self-destructive and unproductive. I guess that's one way where geekiness can be. What's wrong with geekiness? Well, becoming controlled by your geekiness could be one way that what's wrong with it, I suppose. Another way to say, well, what's right with it, or what could be better with being a geek? Well, look at Bill Gates. I think a successful person who's known as a geek, I suppose, not only financially, but in terms of the impact that he has made on the world through Microsoft, and it's not just him, but other so-called geeks as well, in the technology industries and in other fields. Scientists are geeks of certain things as well, and they certainly make an important impact on humanity. And so I think there are many different facets of geekdom, so to speak, and it can be good or bad, depending on how one uses, or rather incorporates their interests into their lives, I suppose, and not let it control them, hopefully. I guess that's it for how I would sort of address the questions of what is it to be a geek, and what's wrong with being geeky. I mean, those are some of my thoughts, some of the possibilities and suggestions I would offer for consideration. You mentioned that what you're looking forward in 2010 is an electronic device to allow you to download like PDF format books. I think generally that would be an e-book or electronic book. I'm pretty sure there are probably some companies out there that patent different names and call an e-book something else, but I think generally that's what you're looking for. I personally don't have much personal experience with e-books, but if anybody knows, please leave a comment at Loreno's channel, or on this video here as well, or his video, or better yet, leave a video response. I'm sure a search at Google for ebook, the term ebook, would find you a lot of information. So I hope all of you guys, including you, Loreno, enjoyed this video, and I'm really interested in this type of discussion because it does involve my interests. I hope if any of you guys have your own thoughts, please do a response, leave a comment, video response at Loreno's video or my own here, or both. And I look forward to further discussion. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.